The H1B Guy here, and today the H1B Guy will attempt to answer what's the future of the H1B lottery for fiscal year 2023 and beyond. But before we get started, I'd like to ask you, if you haven't already, to please subscribe to the H1B Guy channel here on YouTube and like this video so that I can continue to produce more content like this for you. I also wanted to mention the H1B Guy offers a variety of consulting services. I help businesses and individuals solve complex work authorization issues in the recruitment process while bringing awareness to employment-based immigration benefits. And a reminder that today's post is brought to you by RecruiterNetworks.com, the smart solution for digital perm ads since 2001. This post is going to focus on interpreting what's in store for DHS's Modification of Registration Requirement for petitioners seeking to file CAP subject H1B petitions based on the publication that was released as a final rule on the Federal Register February 8th, 2021. As I previously covered on the H1B Guy news for the week ending February 5th, 2021, DHS finally communicated on the selection process for the H-1B lottery for fiscal year 2022 after leaving employers and their beneficiaries in limbo for 2 weeks based on a final rule that was published on the Federal Register back on January 8th of 2021 that was going to be effective starting March 9th, 2021. To summarize this final rule in 3 sentences, I would say 1, the H-1B lottery for fiscal year 2022 will be random selection via electronic filings. 2, the final rule published on January 8th is being delayed until December 31st, 2021 and is currently open 30 days for comments. 3, more changes are definitely in store for the H-1B lottery for fiscal year 2023 and beyond. Let's break down some of the key elements of this final rule, starting with quote, DHS expects that delaying the final rule to December 31st, 2021 will provide USCIS sufficient time to develop, thoroughly test, and implement modifications to the registration system and selection process and give stakeholders sufficient time to adjust new procedures arising from the new rule. From a technical standpoint, that a new algorithm be developed, thoroughly tested, and implemented in the form of an electronic registration tool. Perform end-to-end testing and external performance testing with DHS OneNet, the DHS network. I think these are all very fair points, and anytime there's an enhancement and modification made to multiple systems that have to communicate, there are always going to be issues, especially when you have thousands of individuals hitting those systems in a short amount of time. Testing is often overlooked in the SDLC process, but it's such a key component to a successful go live and avoiding future problems. Now, I know that there were some issues with the electronic filings for fiscal year 2021, but for the most part, I think it was a successful change in process. And that's what's led me to believe that wage-based selection was even still on the table and possible for fiscal year 2022 as late as last Wednesday. Back to the final rule notice. Quote, furthermore, because the selection process would be dependent on wage level, the scope of the work for contractor staff would require not only initial review of petitions for completeness and correct filing fees, but also to identify the wage levels that would be used to rank them for purposes of the selection process. So to me, this is very interesting semantics, and we can debate word meanings all we want. I've covered the difference between wage-based and wage levels on the H1B Guy podcast, Immigration Bites Episode 1. But here we see that the selection process would be dependent on wage level. I find this verbiage to give us an insight into what we may see in the future. Not just wage-based selection, but also wage levels are potentially going to be factored in, leading me to believe that there will be a percentage set aside for each wage level 1 through 4. Back to the final rule. Quote, during the period of the delayed effective date, while DHS works through the issues associated with the implementation, DHS leadership will also evaluate the January 8th rule and its associated policies as it is typical of agencies at the beginning of a new administration. This sentence is much bigger than it may appear at face value. Again, this leads me to believe that some of the language from January 8th final rule will be published, but in a significantly modified format with additions. This will allow the new administration and DHS leadership to put their spin on reforming the HCap lottery. Back to the final rule. Quote, ensure that the regulated public has sufficient advance notice and certainty as to the rules that will be in effect for fiscal year 2023 H1B numerical allocations. This statement leads me to believe that the H1B fiscal year lottery, that the H1B lottery for fiscal year 2022 will be the last one based entirely on random selection. Now, hear me on this. I've spoken in favor of wage-based selection and still believe it's a possibility. But I'd be lying if I told you that after reading this publication on the Federal Register that I felt that the fiscal year 2023 H1B lottery would be solely based on wages. I think some kind of hybrid selection process will be announced and implemented by DHS and the new administration. I'm imagining the new algorithm to be something along the lines of 1. A defined percentage of available H1B visas for each wage level 1 through 4 applied to each of the 2 categories, U.S. advanced degrees and all others. 2. Electronic filings that will include a field for wages being offered. And 3. Random selection using the highest paid for each wage level 1 through 4 based on the overall percentage of the wage level visas available. Of course, these are just visionary opinions of mine, but it sure feels like this is the kind of reform the H1B lottery is heading towards. We'll see if my predictions of rolling out electronic filings for all H1B visas by the end of the year will parallel with the H1B lottery for fiscal year 2023 modifications. And closing up with the final rule one more time, quote, because the H1B selection final rule that is being delayed by this final rule may result in the expenditure of more than $100 million by the private sector annually. As I finished up the H1B Guy news for the week ending February 5th, 2021, I reiterated again, one more time, that the value of the H1B visa has never been higher. Private companies are willing to spend over $100 million annually combined in order to have a 31% chance of being awarded an H1B visa. Think about that. Just another reason why a merit-based system could drastically reduce that expense for employers. I'll continue to monitor closely the H1B lottery reform, but for the time being, I'm really interested to see how many petitions are going to be filed for fiscal year 2022 H1B lottery, which just so happens to open up on March 9th of 2021. For the full post on what's the future of the H1B lottery for fiscal year 2023 and beyond, please check out the H1BGuy.com. And a reminder that today's post was brought to you by RecruiterNetworks.com, the smart solution for digital perm ads since 2001. This national job board network provides recruitment websites in 1,024 U.S. metro areas. Each local job board is its own portal and is a low-cost resource for immigration recruitment ads for all industries and professions with a flat price of $225 per ad regardless of which city you choose. RecruiterNetworks.com has been the #1 place for immigration attorneys, immigration ad agencies, and employers to meet the DOL requirements for the digital portion of the perm advertisement rules. recruiternetworks.com. Tell them the H1B guy sent you. Just want to ask you again to please like this video. Please subscribe to the H1B Guy channel here on YouTube and click the bell for notifications so that you're notified anytime we post new content here to this channel. If you've made it this far, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to watch my content. I really appreciate your support. The H1B Guy, your global source for all things H1B.